This is Ian Bailey with Ian on Personality. Today we're going to be speaking about the Myers-Briggs personality system, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. We're going to go through the basics of how to understand the different types, how to categorize people, the 4 general categories, 16 types. We won't go through all of them, but give you the basic principles. So essentially, it measures people on 4 different scales. The first one is, are you more extroverted or introverted? Now, you're not just in the category of being extroverted or introverted. It's like a continuum. You know, if you imagine 50 this way, 50 that way, 100 would be super extroverted, 0 would be introverted, 50 is in the middle. So some people fall on the scale where, are you more extroverted or introverted? Extroverted means that you like to be in groups and talk to people. You kind of get your energy from that. I must say, this is my understanding of the system. I believe it is correct. Other people might disagree on certain points, so feel free to research. And people who are introverted, they get more of their happiness and they're more settled when they're by themselves most of the time. They often think there, contemplate. They often get overwhelmed with large crowds. Whereas extroverted people, when they're alone, they often seek out to be in a crowd. That's E and I. Your first category, you're either an E, extroverted, or I, introverted. The next letters category is S versus N. S is sensory. Sensory people like concrete, specific examples of things. They don't like generalities. Whereas N, intuitive people, are different. Now they use N for intuitive because I is already used for introverted. So intuitive people, they hear some facts and they sense things beyond what's there. For example, if an N person would listen to this video, they would take their principles and sort of imagine with their feelings, intuit, literally, what people are like. But an S, someone who's more sensory, they want very specific examples. And I'm just giving you general principles. What are the specific examples? So someone who is introverted, think about people in your class who did not want to hang out with the group a lot, they were more quiet. That is an example of it. People who are more intuitive, a lot of therapists, counselors like myself, are intuitive. We sense people's feelings and we can define them. But if you go based on just concrete examples, you tend to like a system. So you tend to like set things. Let's say you're an accountant. This is how you take the number. This is how you punch it in. This is the result. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. It's a logical thing. But intuition, I'm in a therapy session. I'm kind of sensing what's going on. There's some body language. My feelings tell me something, and I go for it. That's the N versus S. In a different video, hopefully I'll put some more advanced items. So look out for that later. Third category, feeling versus thinking. So I understand this to be, how do you process information? Do you go and you try to feel things out? Do you try to get a sense or a visceral reaction to things? Or do you need to analyze things and crunch them up and make sure they're particularly solid? What does that mean? That's T versus F. And people that are T's are the more blunt, the more to the point. It has to be clear. Whereas F's, they tend to be more delicate and gentle all in one. They tend to be more delicate and gentle. They don't want to hurt people's feelings. They're afraid of that. They tend to be in situations where they help, but not always. Just like the N's. So that category is feeling versus thinking. The last one is, so that's T versus F. So you can be I, introverted, S, sensory, T, thinking. All the letters, all different combinations. E, N, F, E, N, T, etc. The last one is J versus P. J is for judgmental, P is for perceiving. Those words don't really fully capture it. People who are J's like to be definite, tend to be on time, concrete, solid things. Where P's like to be more free spirits and random. We tend to value being highly organized in our society. But listen, people who are P's, they can have more spontaneity. They can work with a lot of people all at once. So each one of these qualities has its benefits and detriments. There's no better personality. So there's 16 types. I'm not going to go through them, but you can study them and learn them. If I get email requests, I'll try to go through the types. But basically 4 general categories come out, and then I'll tell you a couple just clear examples of people you might meet. So there are 4 categories. To put it differently, certain combinations of letters lead to certain general types. So people who are NFs, so if you're I or E, J or P, first and last letters, no big, don't quite matter. If you're NF, the middle letters, intuitive feeling, they're called the idealists. Many of these people, go into, social services, counselors and therapists, many even nurses. They tend to be somewhat ideal about life. The subcategories, the teacher, the counselor, the healer, they tend to, on a tangible level, they intuit things and feel things. They want to, they tend to conceptualize things and like ideas. They don't really like, science and math as much. They like more ideas and people. They're ideal about the world, and they want to help. That's the NF category. NT, people who are intuitive and rational, the rationalists, it's called. See, many times you'll meet a doctor like this or a lawyer. NT is a very strong personality. They sense things that are out there, and they get in there and go for it. SP, called artisans. SP, I would call them free spirits. For some reason, the S, I'll explain this hopefully in a later advanced video, but the S and the P, the free spirit, being a free spirit, like in concrete examples of being a free spirit, leads to someone who is tends to be a little more spontaneous, random. And the SJ is totally different. They both have S, but they're different. SJ, people who you find that are very clean-cut, they're punctual, or very responsible people, the guardians. Those people tend to be very responsible, very on time. I'm not going to say boring, but it could be they like more steady life. So those are the main 16 combinations and the main 4 types. So famous examples, ESFP. An SP, who is a spontaneous person, who's more feeling and extroverted, these are the people who are like the life of the party. They tend to be, really spontaneous and wild. People want to pin them down and you better study in school. That's a classic example. INFP, people who are very introverted and creative and contemplative. You probably had a person like this in your class or your work. Just totally different drummer by themselves, being creative. And you might an INTJ, the famous I think it's a famous example. People who are very thinking oriented and analytic. They're always analyzing things, questioning things. Many doctors are like this. Many professors and teachers for the higher grades. So those are some examples, and that's the basic rundown of the Myers-Briggs personality system. It has distant roots in Carl Jung's work, but it has been definitely developed over time. To me, it's very different than what Jung wrote about, but it's in the ballpark. And you can check out, online for the exact history and people. But that's the basic rundown if you wanted to know in less than 8 minutes.